Welcome back. This is Tom, and this is Tom's Radio Room Show, and we're testing this iRonsnow emergency radio. We've done a bunch of tests on it. We're kind of a series of tests because it's got a lot of functions. And we've drained the battery, the internal battery. Now, we still haven't stuck in any of the batteries you can add, AA batteries you can add. We're still using that internal battery. And now we're going to try to test the charging capability of this device. And so we're going to see if it will start charging this cell phone, which is pretty dead. And I'm not going to try to charge up the radio very long because I'm going to use the crank. And I can't crank very long. I personally can't crank very long. So we're just going to see if it works. And what we're going to use is I have this little USB tester. And here's a display that only comes on when you've got power going to it. And it will display the output voltage of the whatever source you're using, the current being drawn by whatever load you have, and then I think power and something else. So it's a nice little tester. And so you plug this into your USB source, and then you plug this into your USB devices. It has one connector that, for instance, will match this cell phone, and then just a USB extender connector. So we're going to hook this up to the DC output, 5-volt output. It's marked. It's a standard USB port. I'm going to hook that up to this. And if there's any charge left on the battery, it will turn on this little display. And the display didn't come on. So first, we're going and we're going to put it in charge mode. So it's in charge mode. Now, I don't know if it's charging the internal battery as well as providing an output. I don't know if it's doing it at the same time or if in this mode it's only letting either the battery provide power for charging something or the crank for providing power to charge it. So right now we're just going to see if we have any power. So when we crank it, right now we have none. I'm going to zoom in so you can see the display a little better. So there's a display, and it's going to be a little hard for me to hold it and crank it. So the display might flip over and you won't be able to see it. So I'll have to play with that. We're at maximum zoom for this setup on my camera. So, and naturally it doesn't want to lay down the way I want it to. Okay, what's it? Yeah. Let me see if I set the cell phone on this. There, that'll kind of hold it. So you'll kind of be able to see it. And I got to be a little careful because I'm trying to hold the radio and I'm going to crank it. So you may not be able to read the display. And of course my camera is trying to autofocus. So that's a nuisance. So I'll try to keep my hands out of the camera view so it won't focus on my hands and will stay focused on this thing. Here we go. So I'll start cranking and see if we can get some power to this thing. Right now we have nothing. Okay, there it is. There it is. Now it's displaying, and I'll read it for you. It says 4.8 volts, 0 amps because it's not connected to anything, and the power is 0. And C, I don't know what C stands for, but C is 0. So it's providing power as long as I'm cranking. Now, apparently, it's also charging the internal battery because the display is staying on. I'm sorry for the auto-focusing going nuts. And the red LED on the lamp here, which indicates there's power in this device, is on. It's on fairly bright. So I'm just going to sit there for a few seconds and see if the little bit of charging I did, maybe like 15 seconds, was enough to keep that battery going to power this thing. I'm just going to let it sit there for like 30 seconds. So it's still on. There's still now some charge in the internal battery. Okay, it's staying on. So it did charge the internal battery, but I didn't have a load hooked up to this port. So that might make a difference. Again, my testing has been not very scientific. So we're going to try. I'll show you that. I'll push and hold the power button on this, and you see the phone does not even come on. So the battery is completely discharged. This has been sitting for 4 or 5 months, and the battery is completely discharged to the point it won't even come on. What's going to be interesting to see, and I haven't done any pre-testing here because I didn't want to put any charge into the cell phone before I started my recording. So we're going to hook it up. And this is a Samsung, probably an S3 maybe, or an S2. And let's see if we can get this. There we go. Now we got the connector hooked up. So we're still getting a display here, so it's still got some charge in the battery. I don't know how much it's charging the cell phone. I'm hoping that if I get enough charge, and I'm not going to crank very long, I'm hoping if I get enough charge here, charge, that the cell phone will come on and at least show that I'm charging it. It may not. I don't know how this particular cell phone works. But I know my newer cell phone, my S4, when you hook up, when it's off and you hook up something to charge it, you initially get a display of the amount of charge in the battery, and then that goes off so that it can charge faster. So here we go. Uh-oh. See? The lamp went off. I mean, the tester went off. So it has discharged what little battery charge I put in there a few minutes ago. So here we go. I'm going to try to hold this steady and do about 6 things at once. Not very scientific. Kind of Mickey Mouse. All right, let me see if I can hold this. And I'm going to crank it for a while. I can't crank very long. My hands won't crank very long. Here we go. Okay, the display is on. And it's saying 4.8 volts, but the current is still 0. That's not a good sign. So that would imply that it's not putting any power into the cell phone. I'm going to try to crank as long as I can, which will only be a few more seconds. And I still see 0 amps on the display. Actually, it's 0.00 amps. Voltage is steady at 4.8. So it implies that it's not charging the cell phone at all. Now, maybe I have it in the wrong condition. Let me go over here. So maybe I've got it in the setting where it's only charging the internal battery. Well, no, because it is supplying power, this external power. But the cell phone is not drawing any current. Let me see if I dare try to turn it on. Turn the cell phone on. Okay, cell phone's not coming on. Not surprising, because the battery in this thing is really dead. Maybe it's too dead. Oh, it just popped up and says it's drawing 0.06 amps. That's interesting. Now let me see what happens when I charge, use the charger, and see if that goes up. Nope, it's not going up. Do it as long as I can. Won't be very long. And plus it's hot in this workshop. I'll go as long as I can. It's still 0.06 amps. So I'm guessing it is now charging the cell phone, very slow charge, 6 milliamps, from that little bit of charge I did on the battery. So I don't think, it appears, you know, and kind of, I'm lost in, I'm no expert, I'm kind of in the dark here. Maybe I can get some answers from the seller, who's now contacted me, so I have his email address. I'll ask him that question. So it is providing current to this cell phone. Very little, but it is providing current. And it now went up to 0.08. Wow. And I doubt the cell phone will come on. Because normally, my Samsung's cell phones, and I have a couple, different vintage, they take a lot of current and a lot of time to charge their battery. They got a pretty good sized battery. It's about half the size of this display. And if I'm using a charger, a regular wall charger, USB, and the battery's pretty low but not dead, it will take 4 hours to fully charge that battery at about a little over an amp. So that's how much power it takes. Now, oh, the light just went off here. The display went off. So it has drained a little bit of charge that I put in that built-in battery, and now it can't even provide enough power voltage to get this display to show. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use an external USB charger, an AC adapter USB charger, and fully charge the battery in here, and then let that fully charged battery charge the cell phone for as long as it can until this display goes off. Now, what I will also have is I'll have this in the circuit, so that's a load, and I'll monitor the charging time. And think what I'll do. I did a little experiment yesterday where I used YouTube's Hangout on the Air, which will let me record either live or private a video and audio for up to 8 hours. So what I did yesterday for an experiment, and I kept it private because it was just an experiment and it would be pretty boring for you to watch, is I had programmed one of my scanner radios to the business band stations local in my area, of which I found on Radio Reference about 15. And I was just curious to how active they were, if I could receive anything or whatever. So I set that radio up on here on my desk, and I started Hangout on the Air private so nobody else could see it, and let it record. I let it record for like 2 hours. And then it's still up on my YouTube channel, still private. And then I could see what kind of activity I got. And by using my camera and my microphone, of course, I could see what stations it found, because I listened to it for a while and it wasn't that active. I heard 2 stations the 15 or 20 minutes I listened to. So I got that recording up there. It's about 2 hours, and I got to go back and see what it is. So one thing I can do is to help monitor my test for me, and like I say, I won't release those videos because they're very boring. It's like watching the grass grow. But I'll use it for my own reference, and then I'll tell you the results. So what I'll do is, offline, I will charge this battery in here, in this radio, and then I will put it in this mode so that theoretically it's charging the phone, and I'll start the recorder on Hangouts on the Air on YouTube. And then I can see how long that charge that I did on this battery will last to charge this cell phone. And then after that, after it's died, the battery in here is used up, then I could check the cell phone and see how much of a charge it got. Very non-scientific testing, but it will give you some indication. Like I say, the cell phone in this particular, the battery in this particular cell phone, pretty large. Anyway, that's where we're at. Let me just recap here for a second where we're at. So this is the iRonsnow model IS399 multifunction emergency radio, which I've been reviewing the last couple of shows. I'm about ready to wrap it up. And it's $25 on Amazon. I have it in my Amazon store. The link to my Amazon store is below each of my newer videos. And what we've done so far is we tested all the functions in general. And that's AM, FM, shortwave, and NOAA. Now we haven't done much testing of the shortwave, so we may go back and do that. It does work, and I did receive some stations. It also has a MP3 player, which it has a slot on the side here to plug in your SD card. We tested that briefly. That works great. And then we went back and we tested the battery capability of the built-in battery for playing the radio and the lamp. And I don't remember, you have to go back and see how many hours it played. So we tested the internal battery, however you spell internal. And that's after we fully charged it using the USB port. Then we did a crank test, 5 minutes only. And that was, I have the results here. That's the solar test. The crank test, it played for 38 minutes after only 5 minutes of cranking. And then we did the solar test, very limited solar test, where it was in the sun, or actually in direct sun, for about 4 hours. And it only played for 9 minutes. Which is not surprising. That was very indirect sun. It was afternoon sun, so I'm going to say it passed. Oops, I can't even spell passed. I'll say it passed that test. It definitely passed this test. It definitely passed this test. And it's a pretty good radio in all these functions, so it passed that. So far I have no negatives. No, I can't think of any negatives. And so we're still going to test this charge the internal battery, charge the cell phone. We're going to test that. So we're going to say charger. We're going to test the charger. And that about wraps it up. So this is an interesting radio. I mean, I'm kind of impressed. I wasn't, when I saw the ad on Amazon, I wasn't too impressed, but I thought, let me try it, because you need, if you live in Florida especially, you need an emergency radio. You need to get it now, because we got hurricane season coming up. Anyway, I think that's it. If there's anything else you want me to try to repeat or do a little more extensive testing on this radio, let me know. I'd be glad to do it. And then after we do the charger capability test, then that'll be a wrap on this radio. If you enjoyed my shows, please give me a thumbs up. That tells me I'm reviewing things you're interested in, not wasting your time. Have a great day. Bye-bye. Oh my gosh, it's hot in here.